So today I'm going to be wrapping the exhaust pipe in heat tape. I've already got my seat off and I've got my heat tape right here. And this is a 2-inch by 50-foot roll. Don't know how much of this it's going to require, but this is Moose Racing, made in the USA. Get that online or at your local parts dealer. But what I've got, and this is a common problem I guess on this particular four-wheeler, the exhaust pipe runs right underneath here, and you can see this plastic, how it's bubbled up right there. And that was from the previous owner riding it in the summertime, got it hot, sitting there idling. But that shouldn't really be able to happen. So what I'm going to do is, the exhaust pipe comes out right here, and I'm going to wrap it from here all the way right there. Is where it comes out. I don't know if you can see that, but it comes out from behind the plastic and then runs up right underneath the passenger seat and into the muffler. So the plan is to wrap. It runs right up through here and then down and out. So the plan is I'm going to take my plastics off. Probably just this piece is all I really need because right here is where it goes through. I'm going to take that side piece off so I can expose that pipe and wrap it. So I'm going to go ahead and get my wrap soaking. It has to soak in water until it's thoroughly saturated, so I'm going to let it soak while I'm pulling this plastic cover off. And also you want to wear gloves when you're doing this. I'm just going to wear some throwaway latex gloves. But this stuff has fiberglass in it, so you definitely want to wear gloves. So I've got all the plastics off of the side here, and I've got that pipe exposed. Looks pretty nasty. It's all covered in rust and clay, so I'm going to clean that up. But here's that plastic cover that's melted, and on the inside of that, it just ate up that protective. It's like a heat shield with aluminum foil over it, and I mean, it just ate that stuff. So, but you can see how close the exhaust pipe is to the fender. Well, the fender and all the other plastics. You know, and that's the spot where it gets hot on your leg, and it gets hot enough to melt that plastic. As much as I like Polaris, I'd have to say that's probably a design flaw, at least with this particular model. But anyway, got it opened up now to where I can get to that pipe. I really need to take the back tire off, but I didn't bring a jack, so I'm gonna have to deal with the tire being in the way. The other thing you're gonna need for this project on the heat wrap are some of these stainless steel zip ties. I got these at AutoZone or O'Reilly's, I don't remember which, but package of them. And then I purchased this off of Amazon. It was $10, but that's the tool that you actually use. You feed the zip tie up into here, you turn this handle to tighten it up, and then when you get it as tight as you want, you turn this to cut it off. You crimp it over, and it lays back over on itself, and that's basically what keeps the tension on it, and then you cut it off. So you'll need that if you don't already have it for the exhaust wrap, either that or some hose clamps if you have room to keep those out of the way. How this tool works. So after you've fed your clamp around whatever object it is that you're attaching it to, and you have your end coming back out, you feed that end. There's a slot in the end of this tool. You feed it through there. Get up here where you can see it. So you feed it through there, then you feed it through the cutter. Okay, and then you come on up, and right here there's another slot in this part. It's kind of hard to do with one hand, but okay, so you feed it through all of that. Now, you butt the nose of this right up against the end that you fed it through, and then you turn this handle, and what that does is it starts winding that end of that zip tie around the little barrel, and it pulls it tight. And you don't have to torque it down crazy, but you just put enough tension on it to have it tight. And then you take the entire tool and bend it over, which basically just it hooks the end of the zip tie so that it stays in place, so that it can't pull back through this end. And then you turn this handle, and that cuts it off. And then you just bend it down nice and flat. And here are the two that I placed. So they're nice and tight. The end is bent over and pushed down, and some of them, I have another style here. This is another zip tie, but it actually has little ears. So after you bend that end over, you can actually clamp these little ears down, and those little ears will help hold it in place. But those work just fine too. This is a little bit better version of that. So anyway, just wanted to show you how that little tool worked, because I didn't get to show you in action. It's hard to do holding the camera with one hand and using it with the other. So okay, I've got it started here. This is the back towards the exhaust pipe. I came up about, there's the muffler right here. So I came up about 6 inches off the muffler, started my first strap there, hose clamped it with a stainless steel hose clamp, and then started working my way down. What worked really well is I fed a lot of that wrap up in there, and I went ahead and pre-wrapped it just loosely in the direction that I was going to wrap it. And then all I had to do was just start putting it in place and snugging it up a little bit. Now that I've used all of that up and I'm having to feed it in a loop at a time, it's definitely not as easy that way. Of course, it's not as easy anyways, having to do it on the four-wheeler with the tire in the way and the plastics and all that. It would be nice if I could just take the muffler off and do it that way, but I really don't want to take a chance on twisting off one of those studs. It's spring loaded back here, or it has springs holding it onto the muffler back here. I don't want to get into trying to take all that off. I think for me, I'm better off just to wrap it in place. So I'm going to carry on with that. I've got about 10 inches done so far, and about probably 24 to 30 inches left to go. Not too bad. Okay, so I finally made it. Probably about, I'd say 30 to 45 minutes involved. So not too bad. Now I've got 20 feet left. I pulled this out and measured it off of a 50-foot roll. So, and you can see I overlapped that pretty good. That's about a 1-inch overlap on average. So, you know, overlapping that 1 inch, which is probably more than it actually needed to be, it took 30 feet to go from the manifold right there, you know, all the way to, I stopped at the top of that bend. You can see the clamp, so about 4 to 6 inches from the actual muffler. And the reason I stopped there is because there's nothing back beyond that point that I would worry about. So what I'm probably going to do is go ahead and start wrapping back in the other direction with the tape that I have left. There's no point in cutting that off and tossing it, because it's not going to get used if I do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and use it up. I'll start wrapping back in the other direction. I will clamp it. I'm going to clamp it here, then I'm going to clamp it again here, and I might even clamp it just below that Y, just for good measure. But I'm going to go ahead and use this up, wrap it back in the other direction until I run out of the wrap. So if you're going to do this yourself and you just want a single layer 1-inch overlap, 30 feet is what you need for this 2016 Polaris High Lifter 850. I don't know about the 1000, if it's any different on the exhaust pipe or not, so you'd have to look into that. But anyway, I hope this was helpful, and thanks for watching.